The Vigil, issue 1, Ram V writing, Lalit Kumar Sharma on the art. So this is, obviously, we were looking forward to this because it's Ram V. We like his work typically. And it's him introducing his Indian-focused team of heroes, which operate kind of like a squad. Not quite Suicide Squad, they're different to that.
No, it definitely feels like an espionage team. Like, this felt like Checkmate.
Yeah, it feels. I would describe it as they were supposed to be the government Suicide Squad, but as we find out, the scientist who was kind of in charge of it all has obviously kept them separate and put them off to the side, and so it's a little bit of a Doom Patrol setup. But I would say tonally, it feels more like the Silencer, and that's maybe where the espionage side comes into it.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's what this made me think of. Not because the story's similar, but I just like
no.
I was getting kind of vibes of that as I was reading it. I think this is an excellently structured first issue. I think there's some really smart things with how it introduces the various elements of the story, so that some things like matter later on in the issue. That it can be hard to do that in one issue.
And I know that they wanted to set them up in those Lazarus Planet stuff and whatever, but I almost wish this was our first taste of them.
Yeah,
because I feel like seeing them and being surprised, because like we kind of saw what some of their powers were or whatever and how they operate, but when we see them work as a team, when they go to get back this boat that's been taken over by pirates, it's, oh my god, like you said, it's so well structured, like zero issues following the action was, and once you piece together what they're doing to get everyone in the same room, it hits at the perfect time.
And it's not even just that moment. No, I think the way it sets up this boat situation and how it intersperses that as it's setting up stuff with like these other characters before it gets to the actual team doing the mission. I think all of that is paced wonderfully, and we'll talk about it in a second. But you don't need to have read their appearances in that one Detective Comics or the Lazarus Planet one shot. This works perfectly as an issue 1. No need for any of that, which is the polar opposite of the Spirit World issue 1, which you did have to read that thing. So so basically we see these pirates taking over this boat near Thailand, I think they said, and we're introduced to this character in the park in Mumbai, where this woman's been given this job from this older guy to basically take over the team, right? To sort of like be the liaison for the Vigil and actually work with them. And this guy, and it sets up a joke later on actually, but he says that he wants to go and move somewhere where he can take a shit without worry that he's going to get shot while he's in the toilet seat. That actually comes back later because a team does kill him and he's sitting in the toilet seat at the end of the issue when he's dead.
That was gutting.
That made me laugh.
Like,
I'm not going to lie.
Be careful what you wish for, old man.
That was a dark bit of humor, but it made me chuckle. No, so she's given this folder of the team, like who the names are, and we're introduced to kind of basically the scientists that sort of like help give them all their powers, right? They're Calder, if you will. We basically see him talking to these military types, and they're basically, oh, this is a whole failure. Like, this entire thing's a failure. And he basically goes along with the idea that he's just an idiot, and they sort of talk down to him. When he leaves the room, they say, "Ah, oh, smart guy, my ass," or something like that. Like, they're really sort of belittling him, and it's all an act on his part because he doesn't want them suspecting that he has succeeded. He's set up this team to all have superpowers, but he's basically decided that they shouldn't be with the government. They shouldn't be with the country's government. They should be independent. And we see him leave and go and meet up with this woman character who's going to help run the place now. So it's Dr. Sankaran is the scientist. And
the Miss Saha is the one lady.
Yeah, Saha. Nia Saha is the young lady who's now taken the role over from the old guy. So he takes her to the base, and as this is playing out though, we also see the Vigil like sneaking up on the boat. So it's like jumping between the two plots. And this is what I say when I talk about the structure, is that all throughout that original stuff, like the first 8 pages of the book, whatever it is, where we're getting introduced to Saha and we're getting introduced to the scientist and we're getting introduced to what's going on and like the mystery of like, oh, you've been brought into this secret mission and you're going to be part of this team now, you're going to help run it, whatever. Throughout all of that, there's constant like things, just every so often, like the news in the background talking about the boat hostage situation. It's just constantly coming up throughout the issue. So by the time you see like the little boat going towards the big ship with the Vigil on it, it actually feels exciting. It feels exciting because they've spent all issue like setting up that this crisis is happening and that no one's doing anything to solve it. So you get kind of excited, and then that's where the what you were talking about earlier comes in, where we're seeing them sneak around the boat, and it shows us how at least some of their powers work. We get, the one with the mask who can take off the mask. It's explained to us that his face, his skin like doesn't like attach to his body properly, and it takes like medication or whatever to like keep it upright. But the mask that he's got was designed to read the like someone else's face. So we see him put it on a guard's face after he's knocked him out, and he puts it on his own face. And it's like all the electrical little things in the mask basically make his face into this other guy. So he's like a master of disguise who can switch to anyone else for a limited time. It won't last forever. Eventually, his face will sort of lose shape. But that it clearly shows that. It shows you him use the mask and then turn into this other guy. And then, of course, we get the explanation from the Doctor as well.
From the Doctor, yeah. And I like all that scene, too, because when we see, was it Dodge moving through, like the Flash, right? The motion blur on the art.
Yeah.
With all the colors, it looks so cool.
I don't think she's actually, because she's not a speedster. She's not got Speed Force powers, but...
No, that's what I mean, though. But the way that she's moving quicker, right, than they can perceive...
Yeah,
right?
I just want to make that clear, though. She's not as fast as a Flash. She's just moving too quick for the cameras to pick up, which means she's going quicker than a 30th of a second, basically. Right. Assuming it's 30 frames per second.
Because it says she has an extraordinary amount of fast-twitch muscle fiber in her body. They refresh her skeletal structure to let her body deal with the strain. The reason you can't see her, though, is because she's moving faster than the camera can record. Yeah. So just the way that they show that with the blurs and stuff, it looks super cool. Like I like the way that looks. Yeah, no, it's super neat, and it sets up these different characters, and it also sets up there's a little bit of a darkness to them where they'll save the hostages, but they're not really all that fussed about them. It's more about getting to this device, the whole pirate thing is basically like they're here for this device, this LexCorp device or whatever it is that's in the cargo, and basically, the Vigil are hunting down technology and stuff that they don't think the world should have access to yet because it's too dangerous. And it's like, saving the hostages is convenient because no one will question things because there's such a happy ending. Like, people won't look too much into the device being missing. And they're going to track where it was going as well, which might be relevant later, it may not be. But it's this weird, was it waveform emitter? Honestly, it sounded kind of like the thing from Batman Begins. But Roz was going to use the microwave thing to destroy the water supply to send Gotham, turn it on itself. So
anyway, they destroy this thing, and there's also a tease that the big muscly guy in the base that's been talking to Saha has powers as well, because we see his eyes light up just towards the end. But the final page is this SWAT team going after the old guy that she replaced and killing him when he's on the toilet seat, which made me laugh. And we see this villain sort of he's here to... Actually, he may not be dead yet. He's still kind of talking, actually, now I'm talking about it. But he's basically there to question him because they keep talking about how the person funding the Vigil, it's not a doctor, there's someone bankrolling them called Mr. Lightless. And that's who this SWAT team guy with the weird eyes is trying to find out about. He wants to know who Mr. Lightless is. So there's a lot of stuff here, but I think this first issue does a great job of introducing the key concept of the team, who the main players with powers are, and who this character who's the newcomer who's our conduit to learn all these things. It does a solid introductory job of who these characters are and what this book is. So I thought this was a great first issue, honestly. I thought this set things up perfectly well.
After reading them Lazarus Planet and then Detective, I was a little bit doubtful about it, but then that's what I get. That's how silly I am. Who am I to doubt Ram V at this point? Because this issue was surpassed any expectations I had for it based off of the two other ones.
And it is difficult, right, to get us into a new comic where it's all original characters,
right? And
maybe that's why I also thought of the Silencer, because that was the other that was the good
original
example of that, where at least during our time in this show, where That was a new character, and I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. And that was a case where I wasn't expecting it from the creative team, but it ended up being really good.
Right. And here too, because it's, I mean, it's set in the DC universe based off what some of the people are saying, right? Like, there's a Kite Man reference.
There is,
talking
yeah.
about how the Americans are so much better at the superpowered thing than we are. They even have kite themed.
Do you know what that sounded like? It sounded like when China were trying to make their superheroes.
Yep.
This was India trying to make their own superheroes, and that's what they're. Yep. They think they've failed, but in reality, the Doctor's just like, no. This shouldn't be in the government. This should be a separate thing.
Right. Because he's responsible. That's because we've seen what happens when the government is in charge of superheroes. You get the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Right?
But at the same time, it sounds like they might also make morally grey choices if they think, or at least if he thinks is right. Maybe we'll explore that as we go on. But as far as the first issue goes, to get me invested in what's going on, I thought this set up a conflict, this boat thing. It built up to it really well. It gave me characters that helped me introduce to the characters that are in the story. It was a solid introductory first issue that was introducing a lot of moving parts, and I feel like I'm along for the ride and I'm not being left behind because there's too much going on. I think this was great. I came out of this feeling really positive.
Me too. And I like all the new characters too, because I like anytime you give me a new character that's so unlike anything. So like Saya, the guy with the bone disease, right? The fact that he can, be a master disguise for a hot second and he got back into the room, like, I thought that was a really cool use of that. So like, yeah, I'm wondering what this other guy's power is down at the end, to see how he fits in.
Curious about that. And also it's worth mentioning, they shoot the pirate in the back. This is not a superhero where it's like they'll take them in alive or anything. They'll just execute them without mercy. Right. So we're getting that type of team. We're getting those types of characters. So
for sure.
Really good. I am on board for issue 2. Needless to say. What are you giving the Vigil issue 1, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
I think I agree with the 8.5, yeah. I think I'll agree with that.